If you can hear this, do not adjust your Aethervox. This is the Avalon Society Emergency Broadcast Network. You're listening to a recount of the real events surrounding the catastrophe which occurred in the city of London at the end of May 1907. In order to escape London with the Avalon Society, our fated fellowship find themselves investigating a murderous malcontent by the name of Spring-Heeled Jack. To find the fiend, they enlist the aid of American journalist Harry Hargrave, who informs the hard-knock heroes of his fiancée, Harriet Hawthorne, who is hot on the heels of the killer with a hard-hitting exposé. Harry divulges more in a private luncheon with prima donna Hortensia, while Professor Scarpati, his ward Billum, and an unnamed third party continue to search for more clues in Hargrave's office. Meanwhile, to avoid a delusional doomsayer from destroying their plans, Ludovica sets the psychopath ablaze with a volatile concoction of carnage, accidentally creating a conscious conflagration and engaging in a heated battle on the very steps of the London Times. Armed now with word that Spring-Heeled Jack was last seen robbing relics from the London Museum, will our heroes find their quizzical quarry and escape London before it's too late? Stay tuned and find out in episode 4 of London Falls!
G'day guys and welcome. My name is Michael and I am the Dead Aussie Gamer, and welcome back to another episode of Avalon Society London Falls. Joining me, of course, is my ever wonderful and ever awesome cast of players as they journey through an alternate reality of Earth through the Breach game. Joining me, of course, is none other than Hortensia Fiddlewick, played by the ever-talented Janet. Hello, Janet.
Little me. Hello. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing fantastic. Tell us a little bit about the character you'll be playing today for us.
Certainly. So, prima donna Hortensia Fiddlewick is, well, you might call her a caricature. I call her character. She's an opera singer, of course, darling. I'm sure you've, I'm sure you've heard of me. Yes, she's currently trying to get the hell out of Dodge because London is just about to be set on fire. So, yeah, we're hopefully not going to burn too much today.
Indeed. And speaking of all things set on fire, joining us as well from the land of pyromaniac undead debutantes is none other than Myri, playing Ludovica von Drost Zumolenbeck. At least that's how I'm saying it.
Close enough.
Yes. How are you, Myri?
Tired. No, but that's not your fault. I should not stay up that late and still type on stuff. Still, I got up and didn't put on any makeup for my undead performance. I'm Myri and I'm playing Ludovica von Droste zu Möllenbeck. And, well, she's the widow of her late husband, who was a mad German scientist, and as many women in those times, she was the actual scientist and taking care of things. And, well, she didn't stay dead when everything ended badly, you know, pitchforks and fire, who cares? So, well, right now she's working in London as a secretary to another mad German scientist. It's like tradition. And right now she's trying to get herself and her friends out of the city because there's a burning man in the sky, and that also entails setting people on fire who claim they want to set them on fire. It's like preemptive.
It means fair
turnabout. Yes.
Yeah, fair turnabout. Indeed. And joining our group as well is none other than attorney at law, or rather upstanding citizen, whose name escapes most people, Edward Hargrave Montague, played by the ever wonderful, ever talented Guy from How to Be a Great GM. Hello, Guy.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Tell us about your very memorable, very classic character.
Edward is one of those lawyers who dribbles around in the background and does all sorts of filing and enjoys writing out contracts and the sort. And is currently trying to elevate himself out of the status of obscure and forgotten by attaching his, by clinging on to the coattails, I should say, of the prima donna. And he and she created a small company to create and put on a magnificent opera for which the prima donna would be the star. Sadly, that has gone awry, and whilst Edward is quietly writing his documents to initiate a sue against the City of London for disruption of said opera by virtue of divine acts, which the city is completely reliable and accountable for as far as he's concerned, he has found himself in the company of an auto-emulator, which he is a little bit nervous about because it's a bit difficult to defend in court. She set him on fire. So at the moment, he's researching an American subclause about if you set me on fire, I can set you on fire first. And technically, because she's dead, she could have had her fire causing her death, but it's a stretch. He's yeah.
I protest. I'm not an auto-emulator. I emulate other people, not myself.
And if we're really boiling down to the point, technically it was the moonshine that ignited the poor man. Speaking
So
of,
it was the gremlin's fault.
it was indeed.
Yes.
And speaking of course, the gremlin playing the role of the gremlin ward named Billum is none other than Anthony. G'day, Anthony.
G'day. Yes,
How you doing,
I'm
mate?
well.
You're doing well.
I'm doing well.
You're definitely doing well. Definitely not doing good. Because Billum has been up to a bunch of mischief, hasn't he?
A little bit too much. It kind of happens when you get on the booze and you drink
that's
a
true.
lot and you lose track of what you're meant to be doing and just like stabbing, stealing, and cheating.
And not necessarily in that order either.
No.
So, Billum, tell us about. Oh, sorry, Anthony, tell us about Billum, the character.
So Billum is a lovable bum or scamp. He has been sort of the ward to Till's character, John Scarpati, where he has been running a long con trying to off him nicely while getting into his will to procure his household to then make it a ruins, because that's what he does. He is
Indeed, and
complicated.
And yeah, I'd suffice to say that the professor's not entirely on board with this plan. That being said, alas, we are not joined by Till today, so Professor Scarpati is on his own journey, which we'll come to in just a moment. But before we plunge, as it were, into our narrative today, we have some incentives for you guys in the audience to participate in today's game. Now, if you've ever watched or played any games with me, you know that I hate my audience sitting there and watching like a bunch of lumps. So you guys can actually control and contribute to the stream with simple donations. A $5 donation allows for the players to flip an advantage or disadvantageous roll, which in essence allows them to be able to flip twice and have better odds at succeeding or failing. You can also donate for the price of $10 a plot twist, which is drawn at random by the lovely and wonderful Eddie Tor, who is in the chat. Eddie will continue to oh, hang on, I got the prices wrong. It's $10 for advantage and $25 for a plot twist, and then $50 for a notable recurring NPC, and $100 whenever we reach the $100 mark, we unleash a boss monster upon the group. We haven't had a boss monster yet, so I don't know. We got some big ones lined up as well. They're not tiny or little. They're definitely worthwhile checking out. So hopefully we'll see some of them crop up at some point. All right. Without any further ado, let us begin. When last we left our fated fellowship, they were finding their way towards the London History Museum. They had stopped briefly past an apothecary owned by a rather sinister-looking mortician by the name of Samuel Grundy. this individual told the group that, of course, he would be more than happy to take care of their persons on pain of death or the eventual death that occurs. Professor Scarpati has taken some small issue to this and has told the rest of his companions to continue on to the museum. He would have inevitably catch up to them, but before then, he wishes to discuss the more finer details of the transition of his corpse into the mortician's person. With that, the rest of our adventurers continue and eventually find themselves at the entrance to the London History Museum, a rather opulent and grandiose building with huge pylons stretching up high into the sky onto a second platform that rises and contains what looks to be a stained glass window depicting ancient scenes from the Bible. You can also see tabards hanging from the eaves, which depict the exhibits that are currently on display, including one that says, now, from Malifaux City, please enjoy the Badlands experience, where you get to enjoy the reliquies and other bizarre oddities drawn from the people of Malifaux. The Malifaux, of course, is the nightmarish dimension from which magic come from in the form of soul stones, rare ores that permeate society and is responsible for the Industrial Revolution. A lot of you find yourself on the steps, making your way upwards. What is it you guys would like to discuss before you enter the establishment?
Funny, I thought the Badlands was the East End of London, but here we are.
Yes, well, absolutely. As with Harry Hargrave, which, on reflection, I think worked out quite well, actually. But in terms of extraction of information, should we have a point of attack for this approach here? I mean, I thought the professor was going to be our in with the museum, but he's not here. Bilham, do you know anyone in the museum we might talk to about? I mean, random civilians can't just walk into the museum and say, "Ho, ho, 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 we're here for the demon invasion." Can we? I think we can.
Oh, I don't know anybody in the museum, but I can get
Anyone
us.
who wishes to may make a art or history check in order to try and identify the name of the curator of this museum.
Only if there's something worth stealing for dark arts.
I would also allow for a art check if you wish to potentially see if you could assess the value of some of the materials inside, which may, of course, be worth stealing.
I will attempt an art check.
I got
But,
15 on my art check.
Okay,
Oh!
15 on the art check.
Ooh.
Hortensia, you get an 11
Okay.
plus your art.
Art is based on which skill?
Charm.
Charm. Ooh, 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 13.
13.
I have
Oh.
art is
Very
cunning.
charming, you know.
Oh, is art cunning? Oh, if art's cunning, art is cunning. I may have made a mistake on that one.
Then 12. I'm only moderately cunning. I'm extremely charming.
Ah, I see. Very well. In which case, the two of you would know that the name Elizabeth Madison, that's just her name, is the name of the curator, a rather stern individual who prides herself on collecting a wide variety of oddities from Malifaux. Specifically, you know that she was responsible for an exhibit of the insights into the mind of the necromancer, which created quite a bit of a stir in the art community. Many of her exhibits depicted quite the gory remnants of many victims of necromancy, but she boasted that she displayed them tastefully and that people were simply too close-minded to appreciate the beauty of magic in all of its forms and were too busy awing and cooing at the likes of prima donna Hortensia Fiddlewick and others who use magic as simple show pieces.
Well, I imagine I have crossed paths with this woman in a gala or two. Well, I can be charming. Let's go see Elizabeth, and I can remind her why it is that I'm the one that stirs the masses, and she's the one that's stuck in this dusty old museum.
Very
Perhaps-
well.
Perhaps then, as a suggestion, Hortensia, well, I think you perhaps and Madame Molenbeek might best approach Elizabeth. And perhaps Billim and I can sort of wander around here and actually have a look at the crime scene, sort of thing. What do you think of that?
Well, I
think
can
it's
give her some pointers as to how she did this wrong.
Ah, yes, absolutely. As an expert, and Billim, your beady little eyes will notice anything out of the ordinary in terms of sort of a demon attacking a museum, I suppose. That's sort of your thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah. That's kind of my thing, I guess.
Right. Well, there we are. And then I'll just sort of tag along and have a look, see, shall we?
All right. Upon entering the rather grandiose halls of the London History Museum, you are greeted by the sight of an immense skeleton. You believe it to be a Tyrannosaurus Rex to begin with. However, there seems to be an oddity about it. It seems to have a tongue appendage with 3 large barbed tentacles growing from the sides of its mouth. You take a closer look at the inscription, and it actually says the Malosaurus Rex, which is rather strange. There are also a number of exhibits that seem to point you around. The Egyptian wing that seems to be quite well kept and well traveled. The Malifaux mysteries that go off to the western corridors and the halls. And in the center, a large circular reception area where you can see a rather stern-looking woman on the telephone who looks much like this. If we could, oops. If Eddie, we could get that portrait up. This rather stern woman seems to be yelling at someone on the phone. I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times, we cannot allow this travesty to remain unsolved. Yes, I understand that these may be just some dusty old baubles and souvenirs to you, but understand that these each have an immense historical significance, and we cannot abide by such blatant thievery. No, yes, I have described to you many times whom the assailant might possibly be, and yet you continue to chuckle like some sort of cackling mew. If I do not receive any further support from you or Scotland Yard, I shall write to someone of power and make sure that you pay permanently. Do you understand me? Am I? Hello? Hello?
Are you quite all right, dear?
She turns her gaze up towards you, and seeing you, she accidentally spills the coffee that's right in front of her. Oh, prima donna, it's quite lovely to see you. You're looking well.
Thank you,
I
my
was
dear.
just tidying up. She reaches down and gets a sponge and sort of cleans up the spill of just.
You know, I hate to think of a, how can I put this, a fellow working woman, I suppose, in such difficulties. Perhaps if you require the assistance of a figurehead, I might be able to take this to a higher level. What exactly is it that has been going on here?
She looks around at your companions, and she says, "Well, that's the thing. Last night there was a break-in. Some artifacts were stolen, and it's just been passed off as just some missing dusty old rocks."
That's dreadful. What on earth has gone missing?
Right this way. She walks you into the Malifaux Mysteries wing of the museum, and inside you can see a sort of an ovalloid chamber with glass walls that seem to separate the exhibits on the left and right hand side of the corridor. in each exhibit, you can see an almost small diorama of the world of Malifaux. You could see this tiny little mine that's been made, these tiny little plastic miners who are, oh, sorry, probably tin actually, tin miners who are kind of pulling soul stones, which are just little LED lights out of the hills. You can actually see a miniature replica of the city spewing out tiny little whiffs of mist. And you also see a broken exhibit that seems to show several of the breaches across the world. It seems as though someone has torn something from the display. There is a perfectly cut square piece of the city that is missing, been torn clean out.
Good lord.
Yes, no.
What on earth was there? I turn to Montague, because he knows the city probably better than I do.
Montague, in fact, everyone who resides and comes from London knows exactly what's missing. It is Big Ben.
Good lord.
Ooh. Whatever would they use that for?
Well, you see, the display was a she pauses for a moment.
A phallic thing?
No, there was a rock, one of sedimentary stone that came from the same ore as the soul stone that powers Big Ben. It may have just been a worthless piece of stone to most, but to a collector, it was a piece of trademark history. The stone itself, quite large, about the size of a basketball, torn
What?
clean. Pardon?
You mean to tell me the stone was inside your model of Big Ben?
No, the stone was there behind it as an accent to it, to indicate how important soulstone technology has become in London and how pertinent it is to every aspect of our life and culture. So much that even unseen within one of our glorious monuments in London, we can still find a piece of Malifaux alive here on Earth.
But surely it was a plaster of Paris replica or whatever it is that you people use. I mean, you're not going to put some kind of priceless artifact on public display, are you?
Well, you see, a friend of mine had recently returned from Malifaux and had sequestered away this piece of history. I couldn't rightly allow the stuffy shirts at the university to get their hands on this. They'd simply lock it up and it would never see the light of day again. Or worse still, they would break it apart and try to analyze it. No. This is a priceless piece that was meant for the public eye. It was meant for people to understand that there is a price, a cost in both labor and work and love that goes into all of the technologies that we underappreciate.
I don't think anyone underappreciates soulstone technology, but just to be clear, this was not a soulstone. It was a stone from the soulstone quarry.
Correct. It was the ore that from whence that soulstone came from.
Huh.
There were a few other missing items as well. Over here as well. You can see that there is a small cabinet, kind of like this slanted kind of, display. What you'd normally display, like books and papers and the like. A piece has been basically removed after the lock has been broken. This one more delicate than the job to remove the stone. It looks as though someone jammed something into the lock and just snapped it, and then ripped the door loose. Inside was a piece known as the Sapphire's Eye, a pendant that was, well, on Malifaux, capable of creating light from nothing. It was a soul stone that contained magic unto itself. And when brought to Earth, it did the same thing, creating this a reddish light, a reddish hue. It was a grand mystery, and one that many scholars were very eager to try and get their grubby mitts on. But I thankfully had my friend who, again, helped me get this into the display cabinets before they could hide this thing away.
So you did put up a real soulstone with unknown capabilities for the
Well-
public to see with this tiny lock.
Well, it wasn't. You see that she's a little bit embarrassed.
What's done is done. What's important is that we understand what happened here. Who's this friend of which you speak? Perhaps I know them myself.
Yes, his name is Lionel Smythe. He's a worker who often comes back and forth between Earth and Malifaux, a liaison, if you would. He liaises with many of us in the museum districts and is a member of the noteworthy Explorer Society. It's through that we became acquainted.
Fascinating, fascinating. And he's is he around now?
Well, I believe he's back in Malifaux currently.
Interesting.
That's
Was anything else taken?
She seems to hesitate for a moment. No, that would be all.
You understand that our companion here, and I point at Billum, is one of Scotland Yard's greatest sleuths, and has the intellectual capacity far beyond those mere mortals. I mean, look at him. He's currently in disguise as a lowly street beggar thief thing.
Make a
If you don't give us all the information, I'm afraid he won't be able to solve your case.
make a deception roll.
Can I support the deception roll? Is that possible?
Sure. What would you like to say?
I'd like to say yes, indeed, indeed. Just to look at him, you'd think he was a common gutter snipe, but in fact, you can see in his eyes, and I just gently tilt his face up. He has the wisdom of centuries.
You know, I'm
14.
just imagining Billum getting sadder the more common you seem to talk about him being. Okay, so Janet, how many ranks in deception does Hortensia have?
Oh, 3.
All right, so Edward, when you flip, you get to add a further 3 to your check.
17.
God damn. All right.
Yep.
Apparently, she thinks that that the name of the true master of the Holmes novels was indeed none other than young Billum, as
Billum.
she is now convinced that Scotland Yard is nothing but this Harriet the Spy compared to Billum and his cunning prowess. She says, "Very well, then I can perhaps trust you for some level of discretion. There was another piece stolen, but not from here. It was actually a piece stolen from, that was on loan to us from the Italian Museum. It's the artwork portrait of Dante's Inferno.
a portrait of
Well,
an
not-
inferno.
Well,
Nice.
not the whole portrait, if you would." At this point, she takes you through the museum exhibits and back to a back office. There is a section, almost like a warehouse, that is covered, tables just covered in different bits of artifacts that are going through restoration. Lots of very intricate tools, giant magnifying glasses, and eventually you come to a painting that has a sliver torn out of it. As you look at it, it does indeed depict a hellish landscape fraught with large winged beasts and demons, clawed, vicious monsters with dripping fangs that seem to be tearing apart people limb from limb.
Mm.
Billum, you and only you may make a notice check.
Ludovica just leans in close, looks at the rib. That's gonna need a lot of Belgian linen to fix.
That's a 15
The
on the
painting was
notice.
Italian.
As I look around at this depiction,
All right, you look at the depiction. You recognize it is not Dante's Inferno at all. It's a picture of the Badlands in Malifaux. A very, very nasty particular place, but you remember it well. Having obviously been originated from Malifaux yourself, it is not uncommon at all for you to recognize an area that was once considered, like kind of like your boogeyman stories. If you act bad, we're going to throw you out into the West Country. If you go there, then it's all over for you. You'll never come back. The man will shoot you with a gun.
that's the Badlands.
I'm sorry.
The
The
Badlands?
Badlands? You know, it's like where the boogeyman comes from.
What? No,
Okay.
this is Dante's Inferno. It's a famous art piece. It's been at the Italian Museum for well long before Malifaux was ever seen by any earthbound artist.
No. You're pulling it out your ass. It is
Your pardon?
simply the Badlands.
So you're saying this is Malifaux?
This is Malifaux. Look, do I will know my Malifaux when I see my Malifaux.
How extraordinary.
In which case, what is the piece that has been torn out?
Looking at the piece that has been torn out, you can see kind of the base of what could possibly be a pyre or a skyscraper or a large tree. You kind of have vague recollections of a like kind of a white pine that sort of stretched up pretty much as high as you could see. That is kind of in that area.
It's like a tree building thing that reaches to the sky.
A tree building thing. I told you he was sharp.
Like a thistle.
Is the tree building thing maybe perhaps also like mostly phallic in size and shape?
Yeah. Yep, very, very phallic.
I was asking Billum, but
Extremely.
I mean,
extremely. Hmm. I sense a common
What's a
theme.
phallic?
Ooh, do gremlins not have those?
you think your uncle caught phallic once, but he died.
My uncle had it once, but he died.
When were these thefts taken? Moving away from shapes of suggestive shape.
Last night. And that's not the
Any
strangest
idea
thing.
as to what time?
Well, I was here till midnight. It would be sometime after the midnight hour and 6 a.m. when I returned to find the window broken and the exhibits missing.
May I ask which window was broken?
Of course, it was the southern window.
On the ground floor.
Yes.
Hmm.
And there's no night watchman?
Well, there is, but Gus is a little bit on in the years.
Hmm. Well, Billum, Inspector, looking at how the lock was picked by mostly just shoving a knife in there and turning it around, and that someone simply broke a window on the first floor. Does this seem like a professional job to you?
In my professional opinion, it looks like it could have been done by anybody with a brain. Or two.
Well, that does count out half of London.
Yes, to be fair. Is there anything that could be created with these things? Have they any other use? I sort of ask everybody that's around me.
You are asking me whether I'm not going there.
To make a nice snack.
I think what the prima donna is saying is if you combine the pendant with ore, would that sort of make the pendant shine brighter or something? I mean, I don't understand what the painting has to do with it.
Yes, Mary.
Considering that Ludovica died of saltstone poisoning, does she know a little bit about the ore and the saltstones?
I will allow Ludovica to make an alchemistry check if you desire.
Yeah, let's see whether I have to.
I have to say,
I'm going to cheat.
No, I object to that first before you don't need to cheat, my dear. I think you know far better than I what's going on there.
Very well.
I
Discard a
object
card.
your stupidity. Draw again. Oh, that's a 13. That's much nicer. Thank
Oh, no, I put that
you.
13 back there because that was one of the ones from earlier.
Ow.
Sorry.
No,
Didn't mean to get your
Okay.
hopes up.
So, what am I supposed to do?
To drag and drop. No, no.
I just draw again. I was just wondering where my 6
Yeah,
went.
that's it. All right, 9.
Drag and drop.
Yeah, well, it comes up to 10.
10 is fine. So, thinking about your condition and how it occurred, you realize that there is actually ways to amplify soulstone energies using ore that resonates at the same frequency that the magic from the stone has. You can only really do this with ore from the same vein. If you get it from different ones, it's of no use. Using the right magical spells and attributes, one can increase the potency of soulstone for a short time. However, it inevitably causes it to explode. This phenomenon is not too dissimilar to the method in which you found your ultimate demise. The soulstone poisoning came at the hands of an explosive reaction of soulstone experiment, which lodged several tiny shards into your system that then eventually poisoned you.
Yes, my husband was an idiot.
Yes, it is a very untested, risky, and considered to be, I wouldn't say banned research, but it's kind of one of those things that, anyone who has looked into it has kind of gone missing.
Ludovica leans back. Well, Inspector, considering that soulstone energy tends to be amplified by ore resonating at the same frequency, usually found in the same vein, shouldn't we take maybe a look at the soulstone in Big Ben, considering what was stolen here?
Yeah, well, I think you might be onto something. That sounds like a grand idea.
Always a pleasure to be at the service of a great man.
Yes, great men like me, 1 in a million.
Certainly.
1 in a billion, I'd say. I just want to check the times. When did the Burning Man appear in the sky?
The Burning Man appeared in the sky precisely appearance of the Burning Man. You were on that day, so that is 5 days ago.
5 days ago.
Yes.
I apologize for my gremlin.
Do not apologize for the cat. Never apologize for a cat. The cat will apologize when it's good and ready to. You're cute.
Such a tiny voice.
Yep. Press C in chat for cat.
So, we still have to meet the darling Harriet.
Indeed.
Do you, I say, turning to the lady formerly of telephone, do you have any idea when the lovely Harriet
I'm sorry, who?
will be here? Harriet, she's a journalist. Harriet Hollywell.
I'm afraid I don't know of any such person. When I came in this morning, I did receive word that a journalist was supposed to show up and attempt to deal with, a news coverage story of the break-in, but no such reporter has arrived yet.
Oh, she isn't here. Oh, what a shame. You don't know when she's going to be here?
No, I'm afraid not.
Oh, terrible shame. And whom was she supposed to be meeting?
Well, me, of course.
Oh, okay. Well, naturally. I beg your pardon.
Taking a moment. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Taking a moment, you decide, of course, to because you asked about this before, to have a look at the window that the creature or whatever broke into. As you take a look outside, you can see the signs of a commotion. The glass having fallen into the library indicate someone had indeed broken in via this, but you see something rather strange in the snow outside. There are signs of blood gathered around on a wall and strange markings on the floor as if a battle had occurred.
Good lord. Inspector, what do you make of this?
Looks like someone got the cut, bled all over the thing, and then they came inside to get warm.
Fascinating.
Interesting.
You really do have a unique mind. I can see why you are London's #1 investigator.
Oh, please do go on.
So it was a crime of opportunity. They found themselves inside trying to get warm and then realized that the ore in Big Ben, the sliver of the painting, and the pendant would help them get warm.
Look, I'm no blocker, but something tells me that it's the magic of the stone that they're after.
Indeed. Indeed. How many different kinds of boot prints are we seeing down here in the snow?
Looking down at the snow requires you to go outside in order to get a good look at it.
Sure.
Doing so, you will see a pair of small lady-sized shoes, as well as what appears to be hoof prints, but only a pair of bipedal hoof prints.
Interesting.
Half lady, half horse, as I suspected.
As you suspected.
I knew the whole time. Crime at the museum, half lady, half horse.
Trying to get warm.
What is your name, young woman? I'm talking to the lady who's on the telephone.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Not Elizabeth Madison,
Yes.
but
Go
you're
on,
the
say.
curatrix of the museum.
That would be me, yes.
Why were you in reception as a receptionist?
Well, funding and budgets being what they may, one does what one requires in order to try and survive during these rather depressive times.
Who would have known that the painting was in the back being stored there? That's not common public knowledge, is it?
No, rather not. In fact, apart from Gus, who is our night watchman, the only other person would have been Mr. Ramses, he's the restorative artist, an individual who we hire to restore many of the artworks and paintings and other knickknacks.
And nobody else?
That is all.
Ramsey.
Is he coming in today, Mr. Ramses?
And also, does he happen to be half woman, half horse?
No, he's
Note
not.
to Note to the first, and he was actually due here about an hour ago.
Oh. Well, perhaps someone should check on him. I'd hate to think that something had happened.
No, indeed. Perhaps it'd also be best to ask him not to come in today amidst everything. I hate to impose, but I don't suppose you might go and visit him and see if he's well enough.
I am pretty sure that the inspector would like to talk to him anyways.
Of course. Let me get his address for you.
Thank
Now-
That's very kind. And we'd also like to speak to Gus, in case he heard the clopping of hooves from our lady horse.
Of course, I'll fetch him right away.
Horse lady.
She makes her way behind the reception area and picks up the telecom. As she does, you hear a voice sort of crackle over the airwaves. This is Elizabeth. Gus, can you make your way to the front foyer? Gus, to the front foyer. Thank you. As a few moments later, a rather old, dottery-looking man wearing a gray jumpsuit with the name Gus written on it. He's got like a flashlight in one hand, walks in your direction. This individual looks very shaky. Hello, Mom. May I be of assistance? Yes, these inspectors would like to speak with you in regards to the break-in last night. Oh, yes, no terrible business this. Well, there I was at the back of the museum when I heard a noise. It was at precisely 10:30 p.m. Write this down. It's 10:30 p.m. And that is when the madam, the curator, left and said, "Good night, Gus." And that's what I heard. And I said to her, "Good night, Madam Curator." And she said, I hope you have a pleasant evening. I said, "Well, you as well, my dear." I then said to her that I was going to do my rounds, and I proceeded to then walk around the museum and then around the back. And at about 11 o'clock, yes, I remember, the madam, she said to me, "Sure to check for cats, for they have been sneaking into the museum," and went to the back alley where I thought I heard a sort of a kerfuffle of some kind.
What kind of
That's
a
when I
kerfuffle?
But just sounded like cats wrestling in the alley. It was dreadful noise, scratching and screeching and what have you. And that's when I saw it. The great beast that it was stood tall as a man, it did, with glowing red eyes burning like fire. It looked at me and snarled before jumping into the window. Well, I knew what I had to do then. I got my trusty truncheon, I did, and I made my way to the front entrance. But in the commotion, I forgot that I'd left my keys on the inside, and I'd locked myself in the perimeter. So I called the madam, who then returned and then allowed me passage in. I then proceeded to secure the area, but by that stage the demon creature had gone. At first, the Madam Curator didn't believe me, saying that I was making all kinds of fanciful tales up. But it was real, I tell you. Real as the glowing light on the end of my flash stick.
You don't recall... Oh, sorry, Matt. Prima
I
Donna,
just
you
wanted
first.
to ask what Elizabeth's face is doing during all of this, because a lot of what he said contradicts what she said.
We'll make a scrutiny check. Make a scrutiny. Anyone who wishes to may do so.
I will scrutinize her.
You may scrutinize her face.
I can't see her face,
Okay.
and my hair is in my eyes. I don't know. Odd woman. No idea.
I might be able to. I'm watching her because the times are all over the place to what she said, and you would have thought she would have mentioned giant fire demon in her report to the policeman. I got a 13.
A 13. Wow. Okay. With a 13, she seems to be almost dismissive of Gus. As she seems to have a look on her face, she says, "Yes, yes, yes. Well, we know it wasn't some kind of horrible monster demon. Gus is just old and decrepit. We really need to find someone more well suited to the night guard services."
I do have a quick question for you, however, in terms of Gus, what time would you say that the curatrix returned to the museum to let you back in again?
Oh, about perhaps 11:30, sir.
And was it at that point that you realized that this demon thing had stolen from the displays?
Well, no, sir. I didn't realize it had taken a thing. I thought simply it was running amok. I imagined that demons don't have an appreciation for fine art. So I just began my search. Yes, well, I'm sure you can imagine that these fanciful tales of some sort of demon were not high on my priority list. But learning of a break-in, I certainly didn't wish to, well,
We have a house full of malleable objects, including actual real soulstone. And if someone tells you that there's a magical thing happening, you just go, "Ugh, no, that's surely not what's actually going on in a house with soulstones and all kinds of unknown magical knickknacks."
Earth is not prone to the strength of the magics that Malifaux is. The odds of some sort of demon coming through Malifaux and then hopping a train from Santa Fe to London, and then for some reason or another not getting caught by the guild and breaking into this museum.
No, weird things have happened the last few days in London, and the guild doesn't catch everything.
Perhaps I hadn't considered that.
Did
Actually,
the
how
demon...
much do you know about how these things work?
Very little. I myself have been very interested in the world of Malifaux, but have never yet been myself.
Well,
It's why I think these artifacts should be treasured.
Have you just cut off the inspector?
Oh, my apologies. Sorry, Inspector?
you are by far the silliest person I know. And I know him, Mr. Montagrave. Um, demons love soulstones. Fact.
Do they now?
Gus here, good man, seen a demon. We've seen hoof prints and blood. There's a break-in. And you're telling me that you don't suspect the demon to have stolen things that are aligned to a soulstone?
Well, it just seems highly improbable, and I mean, just she appears very flustered at the accusation. But the more evidence you provide, you can see that she does feel a bit silly sot as she is she's okay. Yeah,
Calm down, love. Have a drink. I'll pass her a flask of my moonshine.
Oh, thank you.
Just to be absolutely clear, Gus, the demon broke the window in the south wing, right?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
I'm a little bit slow, so you'll forgive me, Inspector, if I just want to get an idea here. You say the demon broke in at 10:30.
Yes, sir.
But that you got yourself trapped and were only released from that trapped area by 11 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Willem, do you think this demon, given knowledge of where the painting might be, as well as where these objects are, half an hour, is that enough time to gather these things?
I could do it in merely 5 minutes.
I see.
Interesting. But only if you knew where they were, I suppose.
Yes.
Oh, be able to sniff them out. I mean, we walked around and found them.
Well,
How
Miss
long did it
Elizabeth
take
showed
us
us
to
where they
walk? Oh, sorry.
Oh, I said Miss Elizabeth showed us where they were.
Yes. How long did it take us to walk from the back room to the south window?
About 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes.
So it's possible that it did happen in that half-hour space. Interesting. I suspect that perhaps, all things being considered, we should go and chat or see what's happened to Mr. Ramses about that particular tree.
I
Seems to be
agree.
the only incongruous section of this section, does it not?
Yes. We should go talk to the ram about the phallus.
Very well.
Interesting.
Ramesses lives in Westminster, and the address is not too far away. with relative ease, you can procure a horse and carriage to take you the distance as you prepare to investigate the restorationists. As to you prepare to investigate the restorationist. You guys do have a few moments to discuss, if you wish to, any elements of the investigation that you guys wish to discuss. You are in a private carriage, and the driver cannot hear you from where he is.
What do you think about all this, Ludovica? You're the one with the scientist's mind.
I repeat what I already said. I think we should look at the soulstone in Big Ben, or rather find out whether there are others used in London from the same quarry, from the same ore. I think that might be the key to this, because it actually has a physical connection to these things. I'm not sure about all the phallic symbolism, but
You
we'll
seem
see.
fixated on that, Ludovica. Is there something that one of us can help you with?
Thank you for offering, my dear, but I can take care of it myself.
As the only, I think that it is.
Yes.
Well,
Yes,
if you
Monty.
need
An attorney?
having what?
If I need an attorney?
Right. Yes. Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. Yes. If you need an attorney, or yeah. Well, right. Yes.
It sounds like you could use a stiff drink.
Oh yes, please.
Look, can we refocus perhaps on the thievery, the theft? Ooh, we should open a window here. This
We were
carriage
talking
is
about the
cracking.
theft, and that the person was concentrating on saltstone related materials and phallic symbolism.
Indeed. And yes.
Well,
It's
that's the point. The painting is the only thing that doesn't make sense in this whole thing, or is it just me?
I
Billum,
don't think
what do
so.
you know- I beg your pardon. Billum, what do you know about this tree in the Badlands? Are there stories about it? Is it something special?
It's somewhat connected to doing bad things. If you're a bad person, you get thrown to the bad lands. You do
Right.
bad lands. That is a spire. Penultimate area of it. But I'm more concerned that we've left her, the curator,
Elizabeth, yes.
in the museum. I feel awfully suspect of her.
Did seem odd that she left out that entire demon thing, and as everyone has pointed out, I think she's the curatrix who has been driving Malifaux artifacts and exhibits as the principal lure of the museum, which doesn't seem to have done the museum any favors, considering she has to be her own receptionist. But it does imply that she should know quite a significant amount about Malifauxian. I'm not entirely sure what one would term it, but of that culture and that history. So it does seem very odd that she didn't put that connection together. But the reason why I go on about this particular painting is, aside from its well, aside from the shape,
Yes.
tree, yes, it does seem odd. They got the stone, they got the sapphire in the same space. They were operating in a very small window of time, but yet they made the journey all the way to the painting to deface the painting. It seems very specific. And if it's just a painting of a tree, I'm not an occultist. So, Ludwig, do you think would be any value in that? Or do you think they're trying to tear the tree down and that was a symbol for those who would find the destroyed painting later? I mean, that's the connection I can't see at the moment.
I have a theory that maybe someone wanted that piece of the picture, if it actually depicts the Badlands, how they are in reality, to know how to create such a thing, to bring the Badlands over here.
Hmm.
With a red resonating soulstone, and maybe the possibility to harness the power of soulstones all over London.
I wonder who'd know where the other soul stones are in London, if there are any. I didn't even know that Big Ben had one in it. I just thought it was a clock.
Yeah, but a clock needs to be powered, so we should look at other places in London that need a lot of power to run. Because what else would you
underground?
use? Steam?
Well, underground definitely must use
Oh.
steam.
Mhm.
And
You
that's
hear a
connected
knocking
everywhere,
coming
isn't it?
from the carriage. Where are you, sir?
Well, let's go see what's going on with this Ramesses fellow, and then we can start chasing down areas of power. We do still need to talk to Mrs. Ottoman. I will remind you.
You begin to make your way up to the to the apartment building that was dictated in the note given to you by Elizabeth Madison. As you open the door, there's a series of small intercoms, each with a different name attached to it. One of them has Ramesses written on it.
I press the button, ring the bell, activate the mechanism.
As you activate the mechanism, there's this. Yeah, who is it?
Hello, do I have the pleasure of speaking to Ramesses?
Yeah, you do. Who's this?
Well, Elizabeth sent me over. She was terribly worried about you, and we wondered if we might come up and speak to you.
Yeah, it didn't tell me who you were, though.
Well, I myself am the prima donna Hortensia Fiddlewick. I'm sure you've heard of me. And I come with representatives from Scotland Yard who are, you know, not only concerned with your health and well-being, but also the health and well-being of the museum. I would like to charm. May I charm this man, please, with my charm?
You may do so. Attempt a bewitch check as you attempt to lay on the charm.
I lay on the charm. There's so much charm.
All right, that is
Okay.
a 9 of tomes. Very nice.
I have 3 bewitch.
All right, so that is 12. With that, he says, wait, you mean the Hortensia Fiddlewick?
Well,
Prima
indeed.
donna Hortensia Fiddlewick?
Yes, that's right.
You hear this as the door unlocks, allowing you entrance into the apartment complex.
I allow Montague to open the door for me.
How gracious of you.
All right. You guys make your way in, and as you do, you begin to climb the stairs leading up to the apartment building. It's 3 floors up, and as you sort of pull yourself through, eventually you find apartment 3B, which is the one that you're after. As you approach the door, it is opened, and you are greeted by what appears to be a gremlin. The gremlin looks at you. It's a very familiar gremlin. As he says, "It is I, La Rouge.
Arouche.
My friend, I have heard that you are coming. Please come in quickly. Shh, quiet. Yeah, that's right. Don't worry about it for 1 second. Mr. Nabisky, I will buy 15 of your best Girl Scout cookies. Yeah, all right, quick. Come in, come in. Ah, my friends, what has brought you here to my other house? This is rather peculiar.
You said cookies?
Well, I do have some cookies. Would you like some cookies?
No. We'd like information.
Oh, right. Okay. Because I have ones with the little coconut sprinkles. They are delicious.
Don't trust him. There are no cookies.
Maybe we'll have the cookies and the information.
Very good.
Don't worry. I pet the top hat. That's rather like the usual hate of a child's hat.
Yeah. Très bien.
I-
Allow me to.
I can't
go
be poisoned.
He gets you an assortment of cookies and small teas. He says, well, if you are here, then you have gone to the museum. Unless, of course, Billum, have you been telling people about my hideout? I told you that this is unacceptable. You cannot tell people where I live. This is
No.
not
We're after the Ramsey.
Well, I am Ramses, sort of. I mean, I work as Ramses. Look, all they want me to do is run a duster over some old stuffy paintings and I get some money from it. That is pretty easy. I put on the American accent and everyone simply goes, oh, this person, he must know exactly what he's doing. Don't ask me why.
Have you seen a horse-footed demon?
A horse-hooded demon.
Horse-footed.
Oh, you speak, of course, of the Spring Hill Jack. And oui, I have seen this man. I've seen him multiple times. You can look at him in the middle of the night. He jumps from rooftop to rooftop, almost as if he is flying across the sky itself, like a vampire. You know, from Europe. Yeah, Europe.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that Spring Hill Jack is a cloven-hoofed woman?
Vampire.
You're saying he's a vampire.
Yeah, I'm sure that whoever it is definitely a vampire. I mean, I've never seen a person dressed so well and flying through the sky. Last night I even saw him myself. I saw him with a woman in his hands, carrying her like those trashy. One moment. He reaches in, he throws out, and he grabs what looks to be a small romance novel. It's got like this vampire with his shirt ripped open, like sort of Transylvanian musk hair, and he seems to be holding a woman as he's jumping from rooftop to rooftop, like this. He is jumping around like this across the rooftops. He is holding a woman. It's
And you saw this when and where? Sorry.
Let's see. Last night around midnight. I mean, maybe it's
Where?
well. Well, if you see over here, over on Westminster Abbey, and then across the ways, is somewhere in that vicinity.
Anywhere near the big clock thing? What's it called? Big Bon?
Big Jim, I think you would find it is called.
Big Jim.
Yes, he was indeed in that vicinity. Westminster is, of course, where you will find this structure.
Wait, did you say with a woman?
Yes, with a woman in his arms, carrying her like she was, caught in l'amour. Like, it's terribly romantic.
And a description of this woman?
I see her. She's very maybe short. She has short hair, curly, blonde.
Don't think her name was Harriet by any chance, do you?
Well, she didn't have a neon sign or a name tag saying, hello, my name is Harriet. So it could have been a Harriet, maybe a Sarah, maybe a Jacqueline. Oh, please let it be a Jacqueline.
Interesting.
It's just like my novel.
Do you,
Wait, this is your novel? You wrote it?
No. This is just one I enjoy. It's written by another person who is also probably a gremlin. There are secret codes,
Oh.
Like
Who
when
did
we
you
talk
tell about
the
the painting?
PNS. What?
The painting that you were working on for the museum.
Yes, I remember this one. This one is of the Badlands. It's beautiful, but they keep calling it Daniel's PlayStation something. I don't know. Almost lost you guys.
Yes.
So you were restoring the aforementioned Daniel's PlayStation. Very important work of art from Italy, yes. From the Renaissance, yes. And there was a large tree in it. Is that correct?
Oui. It's a large arborous tree jutting out very powerfully.
Yes, indeed. Rigid and yes, very
girthy.
very long. Yes, girthy, exactly.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what is the significance of this great girthy rod?
Well, in the story that the humans they wrote, they said something about having to deal with certain calamities while you are in hell. A series of challenges that will eventually lead you to nirvana. in the Badlands, there is a similar story. I believe, Willem, you should know this story as well. Let me see if I can remember. How did my mother say this? He said, right, if you done stuff up, I'm going to take you by the ear and fling you so far into the Badlands that you're going to hit the bad tree. And then every single troubled youth that ever climbs the bad tree is going to get hit with every single ugly stick climbing up and down this tree till eventually you're nothing but a no good low down human.
Ooh, what a terrible fate.
I know.
That's how we have Mr. Montier.
Oh my God. Sorry, I thought he was a briefcase. Oh, pardon. Would you like some tea, monsieur? I'm terribly sorry. This whole time I thought he was a backpack. Whew. I'm sorry.
Carry on, Montague.
Mr. Backpack.
Indeed.
So if you saw this tree in the painting, I mean, what would it allow you? What did it depict?
Well,
How
apart from being a very accurate drawing of the place, there was nothing particularly special about it. Perhaps if someone were to pine or to feel a sense of nostalgia for the place, it is a good relief.
You say very accurate.
Oh, incredibly accurate. I mean, even down to the shrubberies. There was even a small cactus I remember as a small boy.
Besides that, when you say accurate, you mean this place actually exists?
Oh, yes. No, 100%. It completely exists. It is just about, 30 minutes west of where you lived, Willem?
Yeah.
Yes, no, we used to play there as children.
Why didn't you go to work today?
You see, I am French, and this is my day off.
Not
Because
according
I
to
have
the-
decided that today I will have the day off.
How can you be French if you're from Malifaux?
You see, well, the goblins, or the gremlins as they were, we decide exactly what we want to be when we find something we admire. I found beauty in fine food, great cuisine, and good, obnoxious company. Therefore, I sound like this because that is who I copy. I have
Wait.
embraced.
You decide what you want to be. I looked down at Willem, and you decided to become this.
Yes, I told him he should dress snappy.
What? Leave the rest.
Maybe.
No, we.
Most of the family, they sound like rednecks because that is all that is in Malifaux. A bunch of Americans who speak barely English.
Yes.
Travesti.
Yes.
It's
It is a
travel.
problem.
Before I go and become a hat box, because apparently that's what I am, this Spring Hill Jack, is he rumored to be on fire?
On fire? I've heard rumors that he breathes fire. I've heard rumors that he spits fire. I've heard rumors that he eats fire. Depends who you ask.
Does it bleed?
Pardon?
Does he bleed?
Does he bleed? Yeah. Oh, no, yes, no, he does. In fact, someone once said that he once got caught on one of those chickens that you put on the roofs. You know, I don't know what they're there for, but they are chickens and they sit there and they point in a direction and the wind blows and they move. Anyway, he got caught on one and it melted. Right? It melted. And my friend, he took me over to their place. He showed me to me. He said, that is where Spring Hill Jack nicked his arm. And then it is melted. They say he bleeds fire and acid and flames. I don't. This is just rumors, of course.
So, is there anything you know beyond rumor?
I know how to make a good lemon meringue.
I'll take that as a no.
I can say he does.
I think we've well, I think perhaps Mrs. Ottoman might have some more insight.
Yes, we may have extracted all the usefulness from this situation.
And maybe one more
of course.
cookie.
Please, by all means.
Are you
The cookies
sure
are
they're not
actually crumbly and delicious. In fact, he
Hmm?
probably is a bit too liberal with the desiccated coconuts, but it makes it all the more juicy and tasty and moreish.
Yes, I like the crunchy texture. I don't have taste buds, but I like to chew on things to remind myself that I was alive once.
It's delightful to chew.
Are you sure they're not safe for humans to eat?
Oh, they are perfectly safe for humans to eat, as long as you are not allergic to coconut.
Or
Also
I
said
look
maybe
it.
a
to
tiny bit of nitroglycerin. Just the smallest minute amount. For
Little
headaches.
bit. Pop.
That's good for your heart.
And good for your heart.
Right.
Prima Donna, perhaps we should be leaving now.
Just
I
chew
believe.
slowly.
Come, Montague. Let's go see Mrs. Ottoman.
Yes, his visit has been brief. So, it's been good to see you, LaRouge.
It is always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Hopefully, we shall see each other again soon. Farewell.
Auf Wiedersehen.
You leave La Rouge's apartment and begin to make your way back down. The carriage is still waiting for you to take you to your next destination.
I have a suggestion. We have two
Yes.
lines of inquiry, neither of which we know will result in very much. I could possibly head, I would imagine, to, I suppose, the civil engineering department of London to make inquiries as to how many other devices have got soul stones in them.
Soul stones. Yes, that's correct.
Since they're public works, it should be on public record as to what was installed in them. I don't think it's a secret. So I could go there and see what I can find. That might expedite matters whilst you attack Harriet. I mean, whilst you find Mrs. Ottoman.
Indeed. Would you care for some company, Mr. Montague?
I assume no one would want to come along because it's basically going to be rifling through files from several dozen years.
I look down at Billum and I say, I don't know if there's anyone better for rifling than our dear Billum. But Ludovica, would you care to go?
Yes, I'm very good at, well, you would probably say the boring stuff. If there's a filing system, I can work it.
Lovely. Well, in that case, then let's call it a date. Well, I mean, not. I mean, as in we'll get. Yes. So another.
As in, we will
handsome-
go a place together
Yes.
on
There we go.
a
Quite
set
right.
moment in time. Yes, then let's call it a date.
Right. Well, in that case, then, Willem and Prima Donna, remember to be safe. This Miss Ottoman was the last one to see Jack, and perhaps he might be sort of, watching her or something, although I'm not sure. Shall we, what is the time now, Michael, in the world?
The time is now approximately 11:30 a.m.
So it's early.
Shall we reconnect at sort of, what, 11:30, 12:30, 2?
Second lunch.
Yes.
Late lunch.
Yes. Let's meet at 2 for late lunch.
All right. So those of you heading to the town hall in order to examine the file clerks would be Edward and Ludovica, Hortensia and Billum, and you're heading to Mrs. Ottoman.
Mrs. Ottoman's, yes, indeed. A sweet old lady.
Very well. The carriage says that they will drop off Ludovica and Edward first, followed by Hortensia and Billum, as the distance is a little bit further away. As you arrive at the steps of Town Hall, you can see stretching out in front of you a rather large commotion. Members of the Town Hall seem to be banging up against the wall and yelling at what appears to be several guardsmen who are dressed in military attire with the insignia of the guild emblazoned upon their chests. You hear the protests that seem to constantly be going up. You can't do this to us. We have duties and we have work. Just because there's a crisis state does not mean you get to keep us out there. Now listen here, sir. I ain't gonna ask you again, but if you can't keep yourself civil, I'm gonna have to end up unleashing a terrible amount of pain on your person. So you need to step right back. Step right back right now, and I will not ask you again. Oh, this is completely outrageous. Completely. I wish to speak with your supervisor. I wish to speak with your commander in stupidity is what I wish to do. You watch as he pulls out a pistol. At this point, there's a gasp as people step away. Now, I done warn you. I ain't gonna ask you again. Next person that calls me stupid or looks at me funny or tries to get into this here building without my say-so is gonna cop so much lead that they're gonna be able to shave the top of your head off and call you a pencil.
That's stupid. A pencil is not made of lead. Anyways, have you ever seen clerks so eager to work? Something's wrong here.
Well,
Right.
it appears getting in might be a little bit more tricky than we had anticipated.
And also, the guard doesn't know his alchemy. You don't use lead and pencils anymore. It's just... Why would you poison yourself if you can do it with much more style and much more interesting substances? Do you have anything in your papers that can get us past the guards?
I might be able to put something together. It'll take me a few moments, but I think I could quite possibly get us a warrant of entry into the building.
Edward,
Shall I-
please
shall
make
I-
me a bureaucracy check as you begin to put together the paperwork. Edward?
Bureaucracy. It is.
Edward?
I'm going to cheat.
Before you do that, Edward, please do so at disadvantage, which will prevent you from cheating. I'm going to consume one of the disadvantages that has been awarded to Guy that is now eaten and devoured. And yum, 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 yum. Well, you still get a 6. All right. So what does a 6 give you?
Bureaucracy with a 6 gives me 9 in totes.
All right. 9's actually
hang
pretty
on.
decent. And these guys are not overly bureaucratically sound. You are fairly confident that your paperwork should work. Meanwhile, short distance away, Hortensia and Billum, you both have arrived at a small cottage that seems to be at the kind of like nearby the river and nearby the park. It seems to be one of those like townhouses, the really tall, slender ones that are very close in proximity to one another. You arrive at one of these ones, and there's a very lazy-looking cat perched up on the windowsill. It stretches out and shakes its shoulders as it sort of continues its napping. As you arrive, you can see the door is open, and a woman seems to be tending to a garden, a rather elderly lady.
Do you want to help handle this one? I'll probably sprig her.
Casted silence on Janet.
I beg your pardon. Yes, why don't... There's all sorts of noise here, sorry. Why don't I speak to her first and you maintain your stance as the inspector for now?
Yeah, I can handle that. And if it gets out of hand, I'll choke her.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that, okay?
All right.
Yes. We'll see if we can couch her into position and, we don't need to go that terribly far. I beg your pardon. What a beautiful garden you have, I say to Mrs. Ottoman.
Oh, thank you kindly. Aren't you just the sweetest thing?
Thank you. Do I understand that I have the pleasure speaking with Mrs. Ottoman?
Oh, yes, of course. That would be me, love. How can I help?
Well, I have come to well, honestly, I've come to ask after your well-being because I've been terribly worried after I heard that you'd had an encounter with this I lower my voice, spring-heeled Jack.
Oh, yes. No nasty bit of business that. He showed up in my garden last night. Saw him stood all over the petunias, poor things.
Terrible.
Come, have a look.
Thank you.
I've only just been replanting. You can see what appears to be a single hoof that has embedded into the soil here.
Are we talking cow hoof, goat hoof, camel hoof?
Phew, good question. Let's say somewhere between a goat and a cow.
Okay,
Somewhere between.
somewhere between.
But
You went
definitely
back.
definitely a cloven hoof though. Like a
Mm.
you know.
Okay. May I introduce the inspector? This is Inspector Billum Holmes, working with Scotland Yard.
Oh,
And,
it's a delight to meet you.
It's
Oh,
great.
Holmes, just like in them books.
Yes, yes, indeed. It's nominative determinism, I'm sure.
Oh, that's
Billum, why don't you
nice.
take a look at this?
Well, that certainly looks like it's between somewhere of a horse and a goat.
Billum and Hortensia, can I get you both to make notice checks?
Yes. I could try.
That is a 12.
That that is a 2. Yeah.
All right. All right. Billum, you notice something on the rooftop, but you notice it all too late.
Can you see?
As a hooded figure leaps down from the roof and lands in the dirt next to Hortensia.
Good lord.
It appears to be quite a bulky, large individual wearing a trench coat and a top hat. Billum, you notice that its skin is covered in this thin fur and as the color of like almost like this bluish bluish purple kind of hair. It looks down as Mrs. Ottoman sort of tries to let loose a gasp before you seem to hear this guttural sound. Need one more. As it grabs hold of Mrs. Ottoman and leaps with one hoof back onto the roof. There's a short, sharp cry before you hear the sounds of the clattering of tiles on the roof.
Can I whip my pistol off my knickers, please?
You may. By the time you pull it up, you've lost line of sight, but you keep a weather eye up above you.
My gosh!
All right.
Oh.
As this happens, we move now back to the town hall where Edward and Ludovica are hard at work. Edward, you have prepared a decent collection of notes and parchments in order to be able to.
We have a letter of permission signed by His Majesty King George V.
Is that written in crayon? No. You make a fine piece of gear there. Yes, Myri.
I would like to support. I have 3 points in forgery.
Very well. Instead of a 9, you now have a 12 in your ability to forge. Now, as
I point out things like the king is spelled differently, and yeah, in the seal.
No, not George with a J.
Oh.
as you end up working together in order to produce this very, very fine bit of parchment. By the way, I would like to point out that the sudden appearance of the fiendish creature is courtesy of Laura Bones and her donation of From the Shadows is it was the name of the thing. So thank you for that, Laura. Also, a very, very big shout out and thank you to Slayer Dub Raids. Thank you so much for coming and raiding us and hanging out today. We are playing a game called Through the Breach, where the group is trying to track down a demon terrorizing London. Currently, we have Edward Hargrave Montacute and Ludovica von Drusen-Molenbeek attempting to gain access to the town hall to try and find out what they can about soul stones and what in the city might be using them. So,
I will remind you of how you made fun of me because I didn't pronounce ants and aunts differently enough. Every time you say mumble, mumble, mumble back.
Yep. You know what? Yeah, we have to Verata. You know what? If you really want to see me saying it as close as I'm ever going to say it, you have to watch episode 2. But that's it.
Yeah. That's true.
It's very true.
And
All
it's
right.
a very good version.
Thank
Yes, good. So, looking as alive as I can be, and I have my passport saying I am a living person, and if that fails, I have a passport saying that I'm guild sanctioned undead forgery. I accompany Montague Hargrave Montague, which way around? Something like that, up the stairs.
All right. You make your way up the stairs towards the guild guard, who still very much has a gun out. All right, listen up. As of this moment, the town hall has been cessationed for rights and privileges, except exclusively to the members of the guild who are using it as an outpost, as an emergency deployment. Look, oh, you just get back right now because I have said so. And for the upteen time, the guild needs this. Who are you and why are you waving a piece of paper in my face? I will put my gun to your head. That's a permission. Permission.
Yes.
For what
this
mission?
document
Whose
warrants-
mission?
It is the permission of King George V. Shit. It's the permission of the king.
Yeah, but what missions he got you on?
Permission to enter the building is deemed necessary by the operations of the guild, and so forth and so on.
What? Let me see that. Yeah. What'd you make of this? At this point, another guard comes over. Well, I reckon that looks legit. We should probably do what he
Got a
says.
stamp on it and everything.
It does have a stamp on it. But this looks like it's drawn on. No, well, I mean, that's maybe just how they do things in England. All right, that may be how they do things in England. All right, fine. You can go in, but no one else. No, I don't want to hear it. You shut your damn mouth. As they let you pass into the halls of the town hall.
Oh,
Well done.
Lord. Americans.
Yeah. Frightful things. Right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the European stream.
Civil engineering.
Well, European and the Australian.
That's true.
riffraff.
European Australia, the colonies, and plus. So,
Civil engineering should be down this way, if I remember correctly.
indeed, you do remember correctly as you begin to make your way through the town hall. Finding civil engineering is not difficult, and it does take you the better part of about 2 hours to rifle through the information. This is probably about the time it takes, well, a little bit less for them to go and have their conversation with Mrs. Ottoman for time correlation. And you indeed find that there are very few soulstones that are used to run civil works. The one notable one seems to come from Big Ben. The reason being is it was a prototype, a showpiece in order to try and to show the benefits of using soulstone as a renewable source of energy for many different systems. There is now work in progress to install a soulstone at King's Cross, as well as a few other locations around London. However, they have not yet been instigated. The only active one and the most noteworthy one is, of course, the one at Big Ben.
Well, it
That's
seems
very
like we
interesting.
are looking at the single phallic thing.
You mean to say you think Big Ben might very well simply just be a representation, and that perhaps within the painting itself there's certain... I'm very vague on the arcane and that sort of thing. The professor would be much better at this than I am, but...
Do you know the rule of similarities? You can transpose something onto kind of a template that might be close enough.
Well, yes, I suppose. Well, we have a different term for it in the law. But yes, I suppose it could work.
I
Do you
don't want
think
it to work. I don't want a demon tree growing in London right next to Parliament. I think that might be bad for civil security, safety
Yeah, what do you
of the
think the
population.
connection is with the Burning Man?
I think, well, to put it bluntly, maybe they are trying to build nesting space for this creature or something, like a focus point for its powers.
All right. Hortensia and Billum, you are in the
Yes.
garden of Mrs. Ottoman. There is a small pool of blood standing right next to where Hortensia is standing that once contained the poor body of Mrs. Ottoman before she was snatched up by a large human-looking person with cloven hooves and pale skin covered in fur. What do you do?
Well, I have some hysterics.
It's all right. It's all right. We'll catch him.
What on earth's going on? What was that thing?
I have a feeling that was our man, the spring-heeled Jack.
I looked down. Are there the same hoof prints again?
There is indeed the same hoof print.
So
Cinderella has arrived at the ball.
she has. Unfortunately, she stole a woman instead of leaving a shoe.
She did.
So we can't go after her. I say, looking up at them. Which
Back to
direction?
the town hall.
So we're by the river.
Yes.
Which direction did Jack go in? Did he go towards Westminster, that direction?
Yes, he did.
Looks like LaRouche might have been right about Jack holding up in Westminster.
Well, I'm. The best thing we can do right now,
Yes.
regroup.
Yes. Well, yes. No, you're right. You're right, of course. Question, where is the town hall? Is that also in Westminster?
No, but the town hall is on the way from where you currently are situated. Now, as mentioned, it does take 2 hours for Edward and Ludovica to go through that. So, relatively speaking, once they have found what they have required, there is a knock on the door as one of the guards comes out and says, you folk expecting anyone from marketing, investigator, Scotland Garden, something?
Oh yes, a short guy, very, very well disguised as a street urchin, and a lady who looks remarkably like the renowned opera singer.
You wouldn't know me. I ain't no into art or any of that
You're
kind
not.
of stuff.
You don't like the opera.
No.
Again, she leans over to Hargreaves. Americans.
No, I if I'm listening to music, it's got to be something you can tap your toe to.
Well, tap your toe out the door and please bring them in. They're important agents.
Oh, here I am sitting here, carrying on like it's some sort of hoosgow. All right, yeah, you can let them in. The doors open, and Hortensia and Billum, you come kind of hurriedly in.
Darlings, it was terrible. We saw him.
It was awesome.
It's furry.
You said
very
what?
odd. He's furry. We saw Spring-Heeled Jack, and we were talking to the lovely Mrs. Ottoman, and she was explaining everything that's gone on. She showed us her petunias. I don't know how they're still alive in all the snow, but regardless. And then suddenly, Spring-Heeled Jack just appeared. He's sprung, and he grabbed her, and he said something about needing one more, and then he was off before I could take my pistol from my knickers. And yes, he's headed back to Westminster. Did I leave anything out, Billum?
There was a pool of blood and more hoof prints. But yeah, he needs one more. One more of what?
That's what he said.
Women.
Presumably, yes.
The creature seems to. He snatched up the journalist. You remember? And now Mrs. Ottoman, and also Bellum. Why haven't given you her a shot of your moonshine? I think she needs it.
Oh, certainly. Have a drink.
Why was there a pool of
the
blood?
champagne glass.
Pour you a hefty glass of
Oh yes, and listen to the nearly invisible man. Why was there? Come again, Hargrave?
Why was there a pool of blood after he had grabbed Mrs. Ottoman? Did he rip her in half?
No, she was a...
Small amount of puncturing, I think. Looked like a flesh wound. I'm assuming. Wait, was it his blood or hers?
No, you believe it was her blood, just like from her shoulder or something, being grabbed by such force. You also take the moment to realize that this thing may possibly have had claws as well.
Yeah, claws, maybe.
Yes.
And
Was he
hooves.
on fire?
No, there was no evidence of fire.
No fire.
I can't help but thinking that's one of these rumors that's got out of hand. But then I thought that about the whole affair. So, goodness, I don't know. Anyway, he headed off to Westminster, and that's, I believe, where he must be in hiding. I suppose, couched in there somewhere.
Well, we found out something rather interesting. There's only one solar stone currently employed in the greater city of London, and that's
Oh.
in Big Ben itself. There are more scheduled for use, but typical bureaucracy, taking forever to get anything through, you know.
Yes, indeed.
But Ludovica, with this new information, what do you think? Well, why don't you tell them your theory?
Oh, my theory suffice that someone might want to use the soul stone and the shape of Big Ben to kind of concentrate energies and transform it into a facsimile of the demon tree in the Badlands. I know it's far-fetched, but there are certain, I'd not say rules, but things that usually happen in magic. It's a little less scientific than you'd like it to be, and it works on similes and metaphors sometimes. And use this basically to kind of harness the power also of the burning person up in the sky, and probably turn London into another kind of Badlands. So far the theory. And now the question is, how does this spring-heeled person work into this? Snatching
cloven
up
feet.
women.
Well,
with clo-
perhaps he agent, but you they're called soul stones, are they not? One must assume
Yes.
that there are, well, perhaps it sounds fanciful, but souls involved in that somehow? That power?
Oh,
or-
let's rather say they can capture souls, but also let me tell you from personal experience that souls contain a certain kind of energy which is basically the same that the stones harness. So yes, I do not know whether there are ancient souls trapped in the stones that are mined in Malifaux, or whether they draw the energy from some other place. But it's basically the same as, siphoning up what leaves the body when a person dies. Just
Could
stronger.
it be that he's perhaps sacrificing these women's souls to the stone, giving it power?
Which was
That
my
is
wonder also.
entirely possible.
Bilim, in your tales of demons, of the Badlands and the tree, is there a keeper of the Badlands, some kind of overseeing committee, or a king of the Badlands who rules over it?
Oh yeah, there's definitely a committee or a board that rules over the Badlands. No, it's chaos.
This being said, Billum, you've heard rumors that you haven't heard. No, well, I mean, that is the understanding you have, but the rumors haven't been proven yet. But word that Titania, Queen of the Fae, has been unleashed from her prison in Malifaux, and is slowly having the Fey wilds that exist within the areas of Malifaux slowly divulging and inhabiting more and more of the Badland as time goes on. But that's just a rumor.
There is a big rumor that Titania, Queen of the Fae, she got out, and that's not good.
Got out from where?
Billum
Shakespeare
regales
play.
Billum regales you with the epic tale of Titania, which I don't think Anthony knows, but I'll take over from that one. It involves
In Anthony's voice.
well, you see, it was the Kythera or the Mythera or some sort of era where you see this bird who got a bit too big for her britches. She ended up being chucked in and stayed there for a bit, And at some point or another, she got sick of it and busted out and started running around all queen-like, you know. But she was bad though. She betrayed everyone. That's why people locked her up, because she was she was all trouble, and yeah, now she broke out.
Bad times.
Bad times. Oh, an 8. I'll take an 8. I'll take an 8. All right.
So
So
I think people of Malifaux, I don't particularly understand how Malifaux works. You got from Malifaux to here, and then it wasn't very hard. I mean, this Titania person is not known to be a giant flaming man. Is she?
Not from my recollection.
Maybe a flaming queen?
Flaming Queen. I mean, the only Flaming Queen I have a feeling that is like a conduit that would work. Maybe sweet old lady power.
Right,
right.
I fear we digress.
Yes. What's our plan of attack, Prima Donna?
Well, it seems like Big Ben is at the heart of all of this. Perhaps we should just climb those darn stairs and see what on earth is going on. We know that this fellow hairy-faced, goat-hoofed, spring-heeled Jack is in Westminster. We know that Big Ben is in Westminster. We know this whole thing focuses around soul stones, which require souls, and people are being stolen. And well, it seems to me, and I know I'm a mere woman, but it seems to me that Big Ben is at the heart of this. Let's go see what on earth is going on there.
Very good.
So,
Absolutely.
who's going to carry me up all those stairs?
Well, what about the professor?
Billum, you have a way of contacting the professor through secret channels. He told you if ever you required to contact him, you would speak to members of the Royal Coach services and then pass the missive on to Professor Scarpati, which would in turn be delivered to the professor directly.
All right, let's catch a royal coach.
My favorite kind.
You wanted to say something, Ludwika?
Oh, no. I'm just putting things back into order. The filing system here is an abomination. She keeps putting things back where they belong, which sometimes isn't the place that she found them in.
All right. By the time you reach Westminster, it's about maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock-ish, once all is said and done. And you arrive at the entrance to Big Ben, a large, imposing...
Can it be 5 o'clock-ish when we're looking at a giant clock? Is it? Sorry, I was just imagining Big Ben going,
sort of,
It's about here o'clock.
yeah.
sort of, yeah, give
Somewhere there.
it a minute, you know, take it or leave it. Give, about 5, 10, you know. Well, someone is mucking about with the power source, so I mean, could be right, could be wrong. Someone just needs to wait for the Admiral to fire off his cannon, and then they can find out exactly what time it is.
That's over Greenwich. That's far away.
Oh, is it? Well,
Yeah.
Isn't it noon?
That was a Mary Poppins reference for
1
anyone,
o'clock,
but
yeah.
fine. Anyway, you arrive at the very, very large and imposing structure, and of course, you can see the winding staircase leading up. It is quite a climb by foot, and I will need everyone to make me a toughness challenge in order to attempt to climb and to determine
dear.
what state of life you would be in when you reach the top.
I can tell you I'm dead.
Yes. Actually, you know what?
Honey, you were
Ludwika,
dead
don't
before.
I was going to say, Ludwika, you probably don't even need to, because it's fatigue, and you're technically
She did. Yep.
dead.
She
You
did.
did.
We miss you, Kara.
I'm going to cheat.
I can't deny you that, so you may cheat.
Yes. In which case, Hargrave, look, I'm up 3 steps. Now I'm down 3 steps. Now I'm back up 3 steps. I'm just, a barrister caught on the steps, up and down 3 steps. No, maybe I'll leave the acting to you. 13.
All right. With a 13, you all manage to get up the stairs without any level of fatigue. Once you get about halfway, though, there is an unusual sight that greets you. Several strings have been tied around the posts here, with human teeth being almost sewn through and wrapped around in a very macabre decoration.
Hmm.
As you continue upwards, the sign of any workers or people who would otherwise be doing maintenance on the clock are nowhere to be seen. Yes, Ludovica.
Ludovica would like to take a look at that, whether those teeth are fresh, so they still contain, the
Gum and stuff like that.
Nerve
Yeah.
pulp.
no, the nerve, the disgusting
Nerve pulp.
insides, or if they're actually old and dried out and hollow.
And what?
A lot of these are fresh.
Mm.
Not all of them, but indeed a few of them.
Size-wise, women or men?
Both.
And
Hmm.
definitely human.
Yes. There's also a pair of dentures on one of them.
Interesting collection. Is this a tradition I don't know of?
Well, it's certainly not very British.
Is it maybe a Malifaux tradition? She dangles one of the strings of teeth in front of Billum.
I don't really like them, but
You can make a history check if you like, Billum, to see if you can figure out where the hell these things came from.
I certainly will try.
Got a rather tooth fairy, grim fairy tales vibe to it, doesn't it?
That's a 5.
With a 5, now some mad dentist bloke. That's probably it.
And dentistry.
Some mad dentist. No, notice the rings around the bicuspids. They they deduce madness. All right. You continue on your way up. Eventually, you hear the sounds of the gears grinding all around, echoing through this resonance chamber. The first half is, again, relatively easy, but the second half becomes a more sinister climb. The air starts to freeze and send chills down your spine. There's a smell in the air, almost a metallic kind of tang that hits your lips. Fresh blood scattered around the place as you make your way to the apex of Big Ben. There you can see, drawn in blood and gore, a ritualistic circle formed around several candles, and a portrait, one that looks very familiar, the torn piece of the artwork that was stolen from the museum, placed, strewn out across this circle.
It looks just like the set from when we performed that Faust.
Only not as nice. Yours was much better.
Well, I was in it. I have my gun out, by the way.
You do. You don't belong here. A voice echoes from around.
Obviously.
I'd bet neither do you.
You are right, and I don't wish to be here any longer than I must. I will find a way back. I will open the gate. The portal shall rip anew, and I shall return.
Wait, that's what this is all about. Do you want to go home? Well, we could have just
I
got
need
you on a-
blood.
we could have
Your
just got you on
blood.
a boat to Santa Fe, you know. We didn't need all of this nonsense.
I have been in your world long enough to know the treachery that spews like vile toxin from the mouths of humans.
Oh, it sounds like you've been talking to our governmental ministers again.
At this point, you can see in front of you a shadowy figure sitting on one of the cogs. He rotates to kind of always keep you in view despite being on this rotating platform. Eddie, can we share that photo for us, please, if you're this kind? As this winged, horned creature wearing the robes of a noble person torn in some places and tattered, a top hat with two pierced holes in the top of it, as this creature sort of looks to you and says,
It is coming. The time is nigh, and this is my last chance to escape before the end.
Well, that sounds a little ominous, doesn't it?
there is a crack of lightning in the air. He looks upwards, and as he does so, he says,
It is too late.
Well, hang on.
and that's where we're going to end today.
Damn it.
Thank you,
is-
sir.
Too late. Let's finish.
It is also too late. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you guys had an amazing time. I hope you in the audience also had an amazing time. Thank you so much for joining us for Through the Breach Avalon Society London Falls. What is it too late for? What is going to happen to our adventurers? Tune in next week as we go and find out. But before we send our awesome and amazing people away, let's of course find out where we can find these guys and what they are up to. Starting, of course, with the ever wonderful and ever lovely Billum, played by Anthony.
Well, thank you, one, for watching. Of course, I'm Anthony, otherwise known as Vegemite Dangerous. You can find me over on Roll for Damage, that's ROLE for Damage, here on Twitch in about an hour's time, where I'm going to be DMing the finale of my show, The Internship. You can also find me doing the production there behind the scenes, pretty much every show we do. That's where you can find me.
Fantastic. Myri, where can we find the mischief you get up to?
You can find me on Twitch or on YouTube as Orkenspalter TV, which is probably as hard to say and spell as Ludovica von Trosted zu Böllenbeck. Yes, we are like the foremost channel for tabletop role-playing games in Germany that are solely focused on that. Yeah, we do actual plays and stuff and talks and online conventions and yeah,
Absolutely.
anything that comes our way.
And even if you don't speak German, I still highly recommend going and checking out the channel. There is still some amazing stuff out there on Myri's channel for you to enjoy. And the community is always super nice and super friendly to our friends who speak English. Janet, where can we find you and your delightful face?
You can find me anywhere online at World Anvil, which is my little baby anvil. At World Anvil, of course, is a world building platform, campaign manager. In about a month, it's going to be a novel writing software as well. So if you're building worlds and creating campaigns and doing anything creative, World Anvil is a place to do that. And we stream 5 times a week with live plays, computer games. We answer world building questions. We get experts on best-selling authors, all that kind of jazz. So you can find us on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, on Facebook, and we have a Discord. We're at World Anvil everywhere. And we have a lot of fun. Is
All
what
of
I
the
would think.
things.
Other things. We make
Very good
other things.
And of course, Guy, our wonderful Edward Hargrave, something. Where can we find you and the things that you're doing?
You can find me on How to Be a Great GM. If you type that into Google, it'll show you all the things, because we were before the age of United tags, so we kind of got ramshackle stuff. Anyway, How to Be a Great GM, you'll find us there. And we've got what's next, live streams on Saturday and on Sunday. Yes, so that's for this week anyway. Next week is
Also,
a complete
Circle of
fiasco.
World Builders.
That's
Yes.
next week. Yes,
That's next week.
absolutely. 30th, 31st of May. Circleofworldbuilders.com. Go and sign up for it. It will tell you everything that's going on. And I've actually just dropped a video now in my YouTube channel on what it is and why you should attend.
Yes, I will see if I can put a link to that in chat now. And of course, I have been Michael, the Dead Aussie Gamer. You can find me pretty much anywhere you can type in Dead Aussie Gamer. I also show up on other people's streams because I am like a virus and you cannot get rid of me. I am with you for life. And so I show up on places like, Mercs of Mischief. I've shown up on the Great GM channel before. I've shown up on Dungeons & Dragons, blah, 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 blah. And of course, you can find my latest series, which we've just concluded season 1 of Minion Quest on YouTube, which is a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition adventure that is a comedy series. So lots of fun and lots of laughs to be had in that one. So do go and check that out as well. And of course, we can't leave without giving a big shout out to our editor, Eddie Tor, who you can find on Tabletop Explorers on Twitch. And there is a lot of really cool and awesome things that are happening on his end of the world. Cool. Thank you very much, guys, and thank you, of course, to all you wonderful people who have donated and made pretty much everything we've done so much fun and so amazing. You guys are awesome and incredible, and we will hopefully see you guys next week. Thank you so much, and till next time, guys. As always, from us to you, game hard or die trying. Bye bye.